Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the June 5th Board of Education meeting. Just to let you know that we were in executive session earlier discussing personnel and contractual issues. We are being videotaped, and participation in government students, I'm sure will end before 9, hopefully. But if not, we'll take a break and you can sign out for credit. And I think we'll start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So let's see. I think I went, introductions. Lynn, do you want to start?
Lynn Lamhart, Kate Navarro,
Michael Cooper,
Jody Monroe,
Tom Douglas,
Diane Stever.
Matt Downey.
Charmaine Wiedesinger, Judy.
And first order of business approval of the minutes from the May 16th and the May 22nd, 2013 board meeting and special board meeting.
So moved.
That was the first and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries. And Student Senate report. We have both of you today.
So I can't believe we were just talking about how fast the year has gone by, but this will be Megan and my last meeting that we are attending as Student Senate co-presidents.
Jamie, do you want to just say your name for the camera?
Jamie Rosen.
And Megan.
And I'm Megan McFerrin.
Thanks.
So we obviously had a very busy and successful year, and we're really proud of the Student Senate and what we've done, and we're really hopeful for the future, which Megan will now announce.
So today, after school, I announced all of our new senators, which is very exciting. We have Shannon Haggerty as our new Student Senate president, and Anna Kreinberg as our vice president. Leah Martens is our secretary, and Drew Perry will be our treasurer. So it's a great group of kids. We know them all, and we're really excited to see their accomplishments. All of the senators, 9th through 12th grade, look like a great bunch, and Mr. Irons is sad to see us go, but excited for a new year, and there's a lot of great ideas blossoming, and we're very hopeful that next year, and we have no doubt that next year will be amazing, and they'll get a lot of work done, so we're excited for that.
And we just wanted to thank the board for all of your continuous support throughout the year of Student Senate and throughout the past years. It really means a lot to us, and it allows us to keep working as well as we do, so thank you.
Well, thank you. You two have been wonderful all year, and we really appreciate it, too. And big shoes to fill for the new upcoming president. So.
He'll fill them.
Go ahead.
What are your plans for next year, the two of you?
I'm attending Brown University next year. I'm really excited.
I'm going to Temple University in Philly. I'm double majoring as a dance major in journalism, media, communications, so very excited.
Congratulations.
Yeah, you guys did great. Thank you so much. Hey, Jamie and Megan, do you have pins, right? Have you received any pins over the years? Oh, well, come get one. Matt reminded me.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll see you
Good luck.
Yeah, we'll see you. Thank you. Thank you.
Next, we have our superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mrs. Stevers, members of the Board of Education, community members, and several students that are here. Some to be honored tonight, as well as some to finish up some last-minute graduation requirements. So we commend you all for coming out. This board meeting, in particular, has a couple presentations that we will turn over in a few minutes to Mr. Sal D'Angelo as well as Mr. Mike Klugman. And I'll ask the board for recognition for the students as well as congratulations as they're called forward. However, in the short recess time here, we have a very important announcement that during this period, the Department of Transportation conducted 297 inspections on our school buses. We had 3 buses that received an A defect, which placed them out of service. However, it's important to note that these A defects were remediated on the spot and the buses were placed back into service immediately with no operational loss to the district. Overall, the profile for the inspection period described is above average at 99% passing with 1% being considered deficient. I want to commend the entire transportation service for making sure that the safety and the operations of our transportation fleet are always at the forefront of our mind. And I want to commend Director Karam as well as all the transportation staff for making sure that Bethlehem not only has excellence in the classroom and across the districts in its activities, but also in one of the key things that starts the day and ends the day for a variety, if not all of our students in one way or another. So thank you very much to the Transportation Department. In addition, I'd like to also offer my commendation to this year's varsity girls softball team, who over the weekend competed in the sectional finals. And although they did come up short in that against Guilderland, they certainly gave it a valiant try on a very hot Saturday afternoon, although the rain was supposedly going to step in. But they took second place in the overall section, and we will reach out to them so that they're also recognized at our last board meeting of the year, as we've done with other teams that have played in sectional finals this year. So we want to thank them and congratulate them. I had the opportunity today especially with board member Lenhart as well as board member Cooper to extend a meeting at the state capitol in regards to some of our assembly's interests of having a panel discussion on educational issues, primarily testing and funding. And I'd say it was well attended, as well as many viewpoints were heard and considered by our elected representatives that emphasize a need for us to never be against accountability, but also to understand that we need to take active responsibility about how we go in and place that upon our students and how we use that information so that it's not excessive as well as it has a defined meaning for the purpose of what we utilize it for. So I'd like to commend the legislature for holding that panel discussion as they try to get a better grasp of educational issues across the state, but specifically here in the Capital Region. I'd like to remind everyone that we have sent out SNNs because of the fact that we believe in the Common Core and we believe in accountability, and I don't know any teacher or administrator that doesn't believe in those issues and viewpoints. However, we also, as a Board of Education as well as a district, have an understanding that we do many things right here for the community of Bethlehem and its students' education, and that in the face of some of these untried and untested assessments that are out there with noble purpose, we feel that the state needs to reevaluate and look at that. And there is a rally on Saturday morning, June 8th, which is this Saturday, from 12 to 2 on the Capitol Plaza in downtown Albany. We have an outside contractor that will be providing some transportation from here. It's on a first-come, first-served basis. Family, friends, children, as long as they're escorted by a family member, are welcome to attend. All you have to do to reserve a seat, and we have about 200 seats, I believe, is just call my office and talk to Miss Cindy Bradley, and she will make sure that she gets all the information. If you would like to help out and have your voices heard, along with teachers, staff, parents, grandparents from across the state this Saturday. In addition, I'd like to highlight some of the end of the events. We have many musical events going on, but especially tomorrow night is one of the events that I learned from last year, which is highly entertaining, and I don't know how they pull it off, but it's the Spectrum concert. And that will be in the gymnasium, I believe at 7 o'clock. We'll try to open up all the doors, but the big thing is it's our entire music program pretty much going and performing throughout, and I know I'll let Mr. Norman give any other details. 7:30. I'm stuck on that 7 o'clock, so if they get there early, you'll get seats. So how's that? But it is a wonderful event, and that's tomorrow evening, and let's share in all the successes that this community makes available for all of our students, but also the excellence that they attain through our leadership with the teachers, administration, and this board to showcase what Bethlehem is and has always been about, and that's trying to make sure that excellence is maintained for the betterment of our future. I believe there are many other things that I could go on and on about, but I'd like to turn it over at this point to recognize a couple programs that have been here for a while. And at first, I'd like to turn it over to our Director of Informational Technology, Mr. Sal D'Angelo, if you want to come forward.
These are pins.
Thank you, Dr. Douglas, President Stever, and board members. I'm immensely proud this evening to recognize the students that we have here representing the inaugural year of our Student Technology Help Desk. It wasn't more than about a year ago during budget season that we espoused a vision and concept of what this could do to help the BC Technology Department extend their support for technology initiatives within the district. And I couldn't be prouder at what this first year has turned out to be. This first year would not have been possible without the hard work and dedication of some staff, Justin Brown, Navarre Johnson, Anthony Malizia, and Nick Petrotoni. We all worked in a collaborative effort to bring this, and the guidance staff, to bring this program to fruition. I'd also like to thank Jonathan Grego, who was our college intern from SUNY Cobleskill this year. Jonathan's moved on, he's graduated, and also Jen Cannell, who was in our department, and all instrumental in making this first year success. You know, Socrates says that education is the kindling of a fire, not just the filling of a vessel. And through the experiences that these students have gained this year, we really feel that we've enhanced their high school experience, and hopefully they can benefit from that in their college and career as they move forward. So with further ado, I'd like to bring up these 13 gentlemen and one lady. And we've got a photograph similar to the one up there. While they're making their way up here, I thought it was interesting just to give you just a quick metric. Back when we did our board presentation in March, we reported that this help desk had handled just over 250 service tickets, which we were on pace to service about 320. I'm proud to say today, as the year comes to a conclusion, we've now served 353 service tickets throughout the months of the school year, and broken down by several different areas. So just kind of give you a snapshot of what this year was like. And for those of you that are in the audience and those of you at home, we are now accepting applications for next year's crew. Some of these fine young men are graduating, so we want to replace them. Orientation days will take place this August like they did last year, and interested students just need to stop by the counseling center for more details. And we would welcome everyone, even those who don't feel that their technical expertise may be, it's emerging. We're willing to work with you and help you with that effort. So can I give you these? And I'll give you these. Okay, let's see what kind of order we have here. So we've got Taylor Collin, Christopher McDermott, Emma McLaughlin, Kevin Flynn, and guys, just go right on up. Will Kleinhens, Spencer Green, Zachary Engel, Connor Kimmy, Brian Herzog, Samut Munchi, Stephen Diaz, William Fang, Rishi Reddy, and Gregory Ingram. How about a nice round of applause for these young men and young ladies?
In addition to one last recognition during the superintendent's report, I'd like to invite the middle school principal, Michael Klugman, to come forward as he presents in regards to the Syracuse Regional History Bee that the district is very proud of.
Thank you, Dr. Douglas and members of the board. About a year ago, a little over a year ago, Mr. Chad Van Brunt, one of our social studies teachers in 7th grade, approached me and asked if he could run a competition, which is a social studies based competition. And I think neither one of us had an idea of what the turnout would be. So you can imagine when we offer kids a chance to take a test in social studies after school on their own time, that you might get a handful of kids. Well, as I walked down into the cafeteria that day, I walked in, opened up the doors, and kind of paused because I was shocked. We had a cafeteria full of students last year, the very first time that we ran this competition, sitting and taking a social studies geography test. So I'd actually like to call up Mr. Chad Van Brunt and recognize him for taking the initiative to get this started, and he'll give you more detail about the success that we've had with the program. Mr. Chad Van Brunt.
Thank you, Mr. Klugman. Last fall, around 60 middle school students participated in a National History Bee representing grades 6 through 8. 4 of those students qualified to move on to the Upstate Regionals held in Syracuse, New York. 3 of our representatives, Michael Connolly, Michael Bartlett, and Alfonso Prieto, once again qualified to move on to the Nationals, which was held in Atlanta, Georgia this past June 1st, excuse me. One of these 3 boys, Michael Connolly, not only participated in the regionals, he was the overall winner. Senator Neil Breslin sent me a legislative resolution for the 3 young men, commending them on their accomplishment. If I may, I'd like to call them up to accept their resolutions. Alfonso Prieto, Michael Bartlett, and Michael Connolly.
Thank you, Mr. Van Brunt, Mr. Klugman. Ladies and gentlemen, these are just a few examples of many things that go on a daily basis here at Bethlehem Central. And we really do appreciate trying to share as much as possible. And we don't try to miss anyone, but we try to move to the next meeting if we have anything that we've overlooked. But we want to thank all of our administrators and most importantly our parents and our students who really bring the pride to Bethlehem each and every day as they go out into the world and represent us. So thank you very much, and that's my report for the 1st of June.
Okay, Board of Education report. Anyone?
You went to CAPS.
I know. Oh, you usually speak first. That's why I didn't say. This past week there was a CASPA meeting, a Capital Area School Boards Association meeting, and they had recognition of service awards, and each of the component districts is eligible to recognize one of the students. And we had one of our students, I don't know if Tom, you were able to.
They were not able. We're planning on June 19th.
Okay. Francesca DiGirardo.
DiGirardo.
Was recognized for her service to the community, so we'd like to congratulate her on that.
I just want to add to what you said about the legislative forum that was held today, because I really want to give credit to both Senator Kachik and Assemblywoman Fahey, who's who represents our school district. The two of them, who are also former board members, organized this, and it is so refreshing to have people in the legislature who really understand school district issues. And they're the ones who organized it and had several other legislators present there to listen to the concerns that were not just superintendents, but there were student and parents and quite a variety of individuals giving their opinions regarding testing and unfunded mandates. But I just thought that they should get that recognition.
I just wanted to piggyback onto that. One of the handouts they gave was a listing of all of the mandates that school districts are operating under, and if we don't have a link to that list on our website, I think we should. It's a 4-page list of 151 separate mandates that we operate under, and people hear a lot, and we talk a lot about mandates, but I think if they could see what it is that we're operating under, that have a better understanding of what the districts face.
And I do believe we do have a link on what mandates are out there, correct, Mr. DeVoe?
I believe we do, but I'm not sure that the list is complete. I don't know links to that list.
Okay. Yeah. I have a copy. We did just come back roughly at 5 o'clock, so I'll
I've got an extra copy, so
okay.
I can give it to
Thank
you.
you.
Go.
I'd just like to make a comment since you spoke about the rally this weekend. I certainly am of the opinion that you should go down and speak. Personally, I'm for the standardized test and for standardizing curriculum among our elementary schools, among the houses in our middle school, across the state, and I believe you have to standardize the test to know where our students stand against other students in the state and not make it such a subjective grading system. I think the kids will benefit from that. But regardless, I don't have any problem. I signed off. You should be able to speak your mind, obviously. But in the paper today, where the commissioner had students from across the state speak, the Times-Union wrote the article about the questions, and the last sentence of the article in the Times-Union is a quote from a student from Schoharie, where he's asked about, are you surprised that there were so many questions about the testing? And he said, I'm not surprised there were so many questions. I'm getting used to hearing people complain. And that stayed with me all day today since reading that at 7 o'clock, that I think we have to take a lot of discretion around the students when it comes to this, because all they're hearing is complaining and complaining, and I don't like the way this is going, and I don't like the way this is going, and I don't think you should have to take these tests, and I don't think you should have to do that. And there's a time, a place, and an audience to be discussing that, and I'm guilty too, but I think we have to really keep that out of the kids and keep it away from them, give them the impression that we are trying to do, regardless of which side of the fence we're on with that, we're all trying to do what we think is best for them. But I would ask, and I know there's going to be a lot of reports out after you go and stuff, that we just take a lot of discretion and not have the kids feeling one way or the other.
Yeah, I would follow up with the legislative office building meeting that we were at today. They did have students speak, and I think I can't predict what other people are saying. I probably not going to be somebody speaking. I just haven't been contacted. But what happened is the students here, as well as the teachers and administrators, parents that have spoke, I don't think any of them were exactly like you said. They're not against the testing. They're against operational procedures, how things are being put into place, the use of the information. If we're testing, let's utilize some of the information for relevant discussions, not just test to test. I think I said at the very beginning of the year, education should not serve testing. Testing should serve education. And that's what I believe. And I think many of the faculty and the administration, I believe, feel the same thing. We will always have some type of assessment, but we need to make sure that that assessment is true to what it's intended to do and to assist in aiding education moving to its highest levels. So I think there can be mixed messages today. I know in that article that was about student journalists getting their first time to really be journalists. So I do commend them for what they did, because they didn't really throw many easy questions out there. But I also would say that with the commissioner's answer that I'm getting used to complaining, well, some are complaints, and I understand that, but some are factual perspectives that need to be heard too. And some are just downright positions that can't be merited out no matter what. But not everything that's a complaint is just a complaint to complain. So that's what I'd say. There's got to be balance in.
I understand. I
in
just
the
say, and it's not
leadership-
always
in the leadership
Bethlehem
that
that's
they're
saying
doing.
it, but if
Right.
you read the papers over and over again, it's articles on, I don't want these students to count for my scores for
Right.
the APPR because they didn't do their homework. And I don't think science teachers should have to count these students who didn't do their labs. And I don't have, and you know, you go to open house and you hear, well, now I got to get you ready for this test. And now it takes on it's such a negative view
Right.
at the start of the year that I just ask for the administration and the teacher to just be reminded that that's, to me, backroom complaints. And it's not a complaint that should be being broadcast to parents and students, because it gives a very negative view of education. We'll work on it behind the scenes, but I don't think the students are benefiting from hearing these types of comments.
No, I
at
understand.
all.
Are you done, Lynn? No, well, I was just going to mention the service recognition tea at the high school on Monday night. I see some of the students that were honored were the help desk students, but there were, I would say, a sizable number of students that were recognized for their service to the community, and I just thought it was great to be, to see that and be part of that. I just think, and it's not just because we sit here and we're doing the same thing, but I just think it's great that students do think about doing things for other people and performing service.
Can I, on a totally different note, ask Mr. Klugman to tell him the fundraiser they're doing tomorrow at the middle school? That I just heard about after school from my son today.
Yeah, I was hoping you wouldn't bring this up. I'm not looking for more people to be there than are already going to be there. I am privileged to get a pie in the face tomorrow. So, to aid the folks in Moore, Oklahoma, who had for those that may not be aware, didn't see the coverage, had a huge tornado rip through the town, destroy parts of the school and many of the buildings. A bunch of our staff got together and tried to brainstorm an activity that we could do to help raise funds to send them. So the idea that they finally, I guess, settled on, and my only condition was the staff were not allowed to buy tickets, was that several of us would take a pie in the face. So I'm told it's not going to be, it'll be whipped cream, I guess. For those looking for some entertainment, I think at about 2:15 tomorrow we'll be
Wear a T-shirt.
cleaning ourselves up. Yes.
The students get to pick which one they want to do it to and put their money in that box. I think it's funny.
I remember fondly my years as a building principal in those activities. They are well worth it.
It's probably better than being dunked in water.
Yeah, that's on Saturday for me.
I was away last week. I was unable to attend any of the district activities, which I missed from last year. I was at the National Conference on Race and Ethnicity in Higher Ed. Although it was predominantly a college and university environment and audience, I did bring back a couple of resources I gave to Ms. Monroe in case there was a teacher library. One on facts on race and class and education, because sometimes, even when I was talking to people in the evening who weren't affiliated with the conference, it's so hard to grasp the effect of inequality when we talk about it in kind of vague or general terms. And one book has a lot of statistics on how kids live race and class in the United States and the impact on education. And the other is activities to teach around different areas of social oppression in the classroom for teachers. If anyone's interested, Ms. Monroe has that. And sessions were well attended, but again, it was a university audience. So, and in fact, the sponsoring organization was based in Norman, Oklahoma. So as we were presenting and going to sessions at night, the staff who were running the conference were on their cell phones trying to make sure their families were safe. So it was a very interesting experience in many ways. So, and I hope to be at some more activities. I know the lab school is having a 20th anniversary.
This Friday?
This Friday from 6 to 8 at the high school. I'm hoping to go to that. So, thank you.
Anyone else? I know I went to the senior awards last week, which is great. What was it, like $70,000 worth of scholarships?
Yes.
Something like that were given out to many of our seniors and some of our juniors also. And then I was fortunate enough to have a couple of give back days in my district I work at. So on Tuesday, I spent some time with Kathy Johnson, our director of special ed, and was able to go into a couple of the classrooms at the high school, which was great. And I was really impressed of how well and organized they were, especially coming back after a long weekend, you know, with Monday off. So that was fun. I think there was something else too, but I can't remember. I also want to thank Mr. Norman for playing out there. We normally do not have all these great refreshments. I wish we did. Maybe we could. No.
We get a bigger crowd.
Yeah. But the reason for that is because we are giving out tenure to some teachers who have been here for the past few years. And I think I'm going to turn it over to you, Jody. You going to talk about that? Sure.
We technically should really.
What do I have to do?
You would have to
okay.
move that up.
All right, but we wanted to do that before the presentation, though, for food service, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so can we just approve?
Motion to amend the agenda.
Yeah.
Okay, so is there a motion to amend it?
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. And so what one is that then?
Number 6, professional personnel.
Okay. And we can take all these then, right?
Yes.
Okay. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following instructional staff action items A through P.
So, is it item 6?
It's 9.
It's 9?
Oh, thanks.
Nine.
Thanks, so.
It's item 9.
All right, I'm switching that.
It's Roman numeral 6. It's Roman numeral 6.
Yes,
So
it
9
is.
Yes,
becomes
that's what I just.
It's
Roman numeral 9.
It will become item 6, but it's currently 9 on the agenda.
Wait, isn't Roman numeral 9?
It's 9.
Who can read Roman
Professional personnel.
It's for
I have the wrong agenda.
personnel.
My 9 says recognition of visitors, does it not?
Ours says
Yeah,
professional personnel.
personnel.
I have the wrong agenda. What's up with that? On my agenda, it's 6.
Okay.
So which one are we using in the,
Well,
why do we have 2 different agendas?
here, if I can help everybody, if we look right here,
Oh, it
mine
is 9
says
on
sick
there.
too, and it's item.
Okay, it is 9. Okay. So
So
item 9.
we both have a different agenda.
All right, so number 9.
Even online.
It's the same thing, right?
Yeah, yeah. Go
It's
for the
recommend,
biggest one.
do I have to
Yeah.
read it?
It's the biggest agenda in the house.
It's recommended that the Board of Education approve the following instructional staff actions on A through P.
So moved. And I had already moved it.
Oh, all
And
right.
someone else, I think, seconded it.
Second.
Second, all right.
You know, before.
Any discussion?
No.
And we can vote on this then first, if before, okay.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries.
Now you
Okay,
can
Jody.
Okay.
Officially
Here we go.
recognized it.
2, 3, 4, 5. And if we can have the board up front,
Oh.
please.
Does yours have 6 too?
So we have several staff members who are receiving tenure tonight. For those of you unfamiliar in the audience of the process, it's generally a 3-year process where staff members are evaluated minimally 4 times a year. It's a very extensive process that our teachers and staff go through. And unfortunately, in this, we have a few people receiving tenure, but given the last few years of the budget situation, many of these people each year to year have been not sure if they're actually coming back and having a job. So we're very pleased that they're here with us this evening, and they've done a great job, and we're very pleased to give them tenure in continuing their career here at Bethlehem. So I'd like to congratulate Valerie Andress, who's receiving tenure in elementary education. I'd also like to congratulate Sal D'Angelo, who is our Chief Technology and Information Officer. Is Mr. Hogan still here? I saw him heading out the door with his children. Oh, could someone grab him? And I'll go with the next person. I'd also like to congratulate David Hurst, who is receiving tenure as our K-12 math supervisor. I'd also like to congratulate Patrick O'Connell, who's receiving tenure in the music tenure area, K-12. We're still waiting for Mr. Hogan. He has 2 small children, so he's probably trying to wrangle them. No, he may have had to go. Okay. Well, Bill Hogan is receiving tenure in the special education area, so we'd like to congratulate him. And again, congratulations to all of our tenure recipients this evening.
Ladies and gentlemen, real quick, as superintendent, I also want to congratulate all 5 because going through tenure in such a large school and being superintendent, there's a lot of things to do in a year and a half. But I at least know every single candidate that is receiving tenure and know them by name very well and been in all of their classrooms or their performances. And I want to extend my gratitude for sticking with throughout all the financial issues and doing the best for Bethlehem. So thank you very much for spending me so much today.
Food service presentation, right?
Okay. Food service. Paul? No, I'm Judy, sorry.
Good evening, everybody. Tonight, we'd like to give a quick update. Lift the microphone higher. Here. Thank you. How's that? Okay, for the tall people? I wore my heels. Okay. We'd like to do a quick update for everybody on the food service program this evening. We do have our director, Paul Franchini, here, wearing the orange shirt in the front row, and we also have a number of our food service employees who are here tonight as well. We've been engaged in a lot of conversations with staff and with the district to just talk about the impacts on the food service program with the new myplate.gov regs that have been part of this fiscal year. When we talked about this last August, we were trying to inform people as to what those new requirements would mean for the food service program in terms of both the offerings that were required, percentages of fruits and vegetables and proteins that were very prescriptive now under the new federal program, as well as what might appear to be some smaller portions, all trying to engage students in forming some healthier habits. And we were hoping that it was going to be wonderfully received and that, in fact, we would have an increase in our sales. And what we're finding is that that has been a little bit more of a challenge to the program than we had anticipated. We looked at our actual numbers. This is really just a chart for comparative purposes for you. In 2011 and 12, we attempt to run the program breaking even each year. As the reality of the operations unfold each year, there are variations. Some years we have surpluses, some years we have deficits. Last year we had a slight deficit of about $39,000, and we were hoping to break even in this coming year. You'll note that in our projected figures for 12-13, we really had tried to hold the line on our program expenditures, and in fact we're projected to come in at about $1,187,000 in costs for the program. But that has not been enough to offset the loss in the revenues that we've experienced with the new food sales. And we're predicting right now that our revenues are going to fall short. They're only going to be around $1.1 million. And we're projecting a loss somewhere in the vicinity of $70,000 to $80,000 in this current school year. When we had identified this a few months ago in the spring, we did try to put some immediate steps into place. We raised some of the prices on the snack items, the a la carte type items, trying to get to more of what the market would bear in terms of our pricing, so that we could try to close the gap on that loss. We were trying to encourage students to buy as many lunches as we could, but we still are expecting that there will be a loss when we close out the year. Now, because of surpluses that we have had in the program in prior years, we have about $117,000 within the food service fund. Remember that this is a separate fund. It is distinct from the general fund, and it is not to be supported by the general fund. So over time, all of the costs of the program need to be supported by the revenues that it generates. We did have some slight increases in the federal meal program. They provided an additional 6 cents per meal in light of what they recognized. Serving more of the fresher items under the myplate.gov did cost more, but it really wasn't enough to bring us past that. You can see that on this chart we're looking at 4 years of sales data, and ADP is the average daily participation. Remember, that's code for number of meals sold in food service lingo. And the prices were increased back in 10-11 when we were trying to close gaps in the program at that time. And it did generate additional revenues for the program, but you can see by the decline in the ADP that as the prices went up, the meal sales, in fact, declined. So for 12-13, we are projecting an even lower revenue number, and you can see that the ADP totals have, in fact, dropped. I wanted to break this out in a little bit additional detail for you for the last 3 years, including a projection for 12-13, broken out between the elementary schools and then the middle and the high school. I think the middle school appeared to be the least affected by the myplate.gov. While their annual meal counts are projected to be lower, it certainly was not as dramatic as what we were seeing at the high school. The elementary schools did drop quite a bit as well. It's lower meal prices at the elementary level, so it really is about a $58,000 loss. Compared to the high school, that $18,000 meal count is resulting in closer to an $80,000 revenue loss for the program. So as we talk about what some of the options might be going forward, we are looking more so at the high school program, and that is driven by the fact that that's where the meal counts have dropped significantly. When we started to look at preparing the budget for 2013-14, if we did not change anything in the program, anticipating that we would have the same reduced meal counts and that there were no changes in staffing levels or significant inventory cost increases, basically compounding the current year's loss and rolling that forward, we would have been looking at a gap of close to $200,000 if we didn't change anything. As I mentioned earlier, we do have the requirement that we have to balance the budget for the program. So part of what I'd like to do tonight is to just talk about what some of those options might look like so that we can start that conversation and get some additional guidance from the board as to what you think are the most appropriate directions to move in with the program. One of the options is to stop offering the myplate.gov meals at the high school program only. There are about 100 meals a day that are sold under that program. When you stop the program, you do end up losing some of your federal and state reimbursements, but again, because the meals are a lower number of meals sold, it is not a proportionate reduction. It's not like you lose a third of your revenues. We're projecting it would be about a $41,000 reduction in that aid. And that includes both the cash payments that they give us as well as the commodity program impacts. The thought would be that by not selling the myplate.gov meals, which are not as popular with the students, and instead offering up other meal alternatives, whether it be pizza line, including some fresh pasta offerings, some salads as well. I'm still trying to focus on some of the healthier options, whether it's the whole wheat pasta seems to be catching on with people, so again, taking a step towards a healthier option. That additional increase in revenue would be about $124,000 if we just replace the 100 ADP meals with a la carte sales offerings. It could go higher, of course, if we end up really identifying what it is that the students most want to buy. So that's trying to be a conservative estimate of what those revenues might look like. For the high school coffee shop, which has done relatively well, particularly with some of the baked goods that have been offered there, we're thinking about expanding that as well to include things like fresh bagels, maybe some egg sandwiches, and increasing the offering of some of the baked goods. So trying to take an approach of what will the students like and offer those types of items. And we project that that might be about $27,000 in additional revenues. Okay. Because of the reduction in the preparation of the myplate.gov meals, it would unfortunately mean that we would need to reduce some of the staffing levels. Right now, we have 3 positions that are necessary with the high school MyPlate meal offerings. If we eliminate that at the high school level, those 3 positions would be dropping down from about 6.5 or 6 hours a day down to 3.25 hours. There's also a part-time position at the middle school that would not be filled either. There are other additional staff people there. With the reduced meal sales there, we wouldn't need to put that position into the budget, at least initially, until meals maybe took off. Those position reductions, when you look at both the salaries and the fringes, would provide savings of close to $90,000 in the budget. There is a potential to increase the meal prices. We haven't done that since 10/11. We did not propose anything very dramatic, again, because I think if you look around the region, our prices are a little bit higher, and then there's still the perception of, although the MyPlate offerings are healthier, they appear to be less food, so there's a little bit of a disconnect there in terms of value. So if we were to raise the price by 10 cents, that would affect the elementary schools and the middle schools, which would be about $22,000 in additional revenues. Increasing the sales of some of the a la carte items would also mean some of the inventory costs would go up, and we proposed $49,000 for that. Okay. Even though we might eliminate the myplate.gov requirements, we still feel an obligation to make sure that the students who are eligible for the free and reduced price lunches would in fact still be able to get meals. So we would still have them complete the application, and if it is determined that they are eligible, what we would do is provide a monetary allowance within the point of sale system. They can go in and select their food items, and then that would be charged to that particular account. For the free students and even the reduced price, that would be a cost that would be absorbed in the program. Again, based on current utilization, that would be about $5,100. This chart just summarizes what the pricing has been that is in place for 09-10, $2.25 at the middle school and high school, $2 for the elementary lunch, and milk at 50 cents. That was increased as of 10/11, and those are the prices that are still in effect in this current year for 12-13, where it was increased about $1 for each of those levels. To go up to up by 10 cents would be $3.35 just at the middle school. The high school, of course, would come off from having these from the MyPlate meals. It would only be a la carte, and as I mentioned earlier, that would be about $22,000 in additional revenues. Taking into account those potential options, what the budget would look like, it would be just under $1.2 million. You can see that the blue item, which represents the meals on the revenue side, would in fact be increasing based on those projected estimates. It would be going from about $834,000 this year projected up to $930,000. There is a decrease in the red box, which is the federal and state aid, because of the discontinuance of the high school program. And then the coffee shop sales are projected to increase based on that new model of expanded offerings. The salary costs are down slightly. That's salary and fringe benefits in the purple. That would be closer to $700,000, down about $25,000 from the current year. So that would be our hopes to get it to a balanced budget going forward. One of the things that we want to do going forward, we have made some changes in the accounting software so that we can get the estimated fringe benefits in there on a monthly basis and just track it much more closely. We want to start getting those reports to the board every month as well, and not only the budget to actual reports, but also the meal count information so that we can look at that. I've talked with Mr. Franchini, and we'll also put in what we think those revenues might look like in the out months, and then if the actual numbers are off from that, we'll have a very good early indicator of action that may need to be taken for a mid-year correction. So the recommended actions may be, again, no decisions tonight. This is for discussion, and then whatever is decided, I can either present updated information at the next meeting, and then we would take action at that point. Because we would need to do notifications, especially if there's meal price changes with all the material that goes out in the summer. So exiting the federal and state meal program for the high school only, the price increases for the lunches at the middle school and elementary school, as well as a 10-cent increase on the milk prices, and then the position reductions as proposed would also be discussed. So painful actions. We've been talking with the staff, and it's not that we don't have great employees doing wonderful work. It's our obligation that we need to balance the program. So we will try to continue to hit our goals of making this a positive experience for the students and offering some appealing meal choices. And I'll open it up at this point if you have questions or comments. If you have any really specific food type questions, I'm going to turn it over to Paul.
Yeah. And on the slide about the staffing implications, why, if we were to change the program at the high school and not have, not have the myplate.gov meals, why would we lose a position at the middle school? Because it doesn't seem like we're changing anything at the middle school.
Any of the reductions go by seniority, so what I did was I identified the roles that would not be filled. There at the high school, it's the cold prep, hot prep, and a line server, but the positions would be based on seniority, and there would be kind of a bumping effect where the temporary employees would not come back, and then you'd have the reductions. The middle school is in addition to that, again, looking at the meal counts. It's a temporary 3-hour-a-day position that we wouldn't bring back in September. So it's not directly related to the discontinuance of the high school myplate.gov. It's really a function of the reduced meal counts at the middle school.
By switching to a la carte and the coffee shop, you don't need people to work those?
We still need people to work those, but it's a different nature of food prep. It wouldn't be
those people?
The 3 positions can be reduced. It's going to be a shuffling of assignments for the people. It's, I don't know if you want to comment on, and use the microphone.
Yeah, use the microphone.
Yeah.
For the a la carte.
What would we, what
now?
would we be doing is closing the a la carte, or I'm sorry, the service lines. So in doing so, you can eliminate a cashier, a server, and then preparation for the cooking that was being done in the back for those to support those lines can be eliminated. And that's where we're able to, say, make some changes. We would still have to staff what we were calling a pizza shop, and expand that to include more of a meal type items, salads, a pasta of the day, a soup of the day, some fresh made pizzas, a little bit more, a better flow, maybe changing the area that it's in. The coffee shop would still have to be staffed. Or even, if possible, I'm trying to work out hours where I might have an early person come in so that we can start right off and have fresh baked bagels brought in from a local bakery. And we'll do you know, different toppings for bagels. That's something we really haven't touched on. And then continue with the coffee program. And then another area that we're looking at is our snack area, being able to sell the snacks that we were selling prior to all of the changes.
But I kind of agree. It seems like if you needed additional, if you're expanding like salads and homemade pizza and whatever, that you need people to do that.
We do.
And also to make the breakfast sandwiches. I mean, someone would have to be doing that.
Yeah.
The people that are there are assigned their station that they're working. We still have a cook.
But if you're going
at
to
the
triple
kitchen.
like the amount you're expecting to sell, you just expect that person is going to just triple the work?
No. Even with the workflow, there's still a 6-hour person at each station that is going to be able to do their preparation for their station with the addition of a cook who's there to oversee and continue the flow of food. So we'd all be working together, but all the food is going out where it needs to go with the preparation.
It just seems like you're trying to give as many meals, if not more meals, if you go a la carte than you're currently doing. That's my only concern. Is if you take my plate off and you put a la carte, you're most likely going to sell to more kids.
And that is the
What
hope.
he's saying is it's not a meal, it's an item.
It's an item.
It's an item.
Yeah. It's
So-
all a la
But
carte.
pasta's cooked.
Yes.
Salad bars are refill. I mean,
We're not doing a salad bar. We're doing a fresh tossed salad where you would come, we would portion it out for them, or a couple in this.
More along the lines of like it would be, I'm just thinking, I'm the student. And I think I have some of the same concerns that if we're closing down our serving lines, the big 2 U's, where are the kids going to get served?
right.
Because if we're still using those serving lines, just closing them down the way that they currently exist, are we making it that the serving lines are more grab and go, so it's self-serve?
That's what's happening. We're taking the one serving line we're not going to use, but the second serving line we're going to say. Right now, the pizza shop is out in the cafeteria, and we just have really a little area where they can come through. I'm talking about bringing the pizza shop in and using the line and having items, grab and go items, and a la carte items as they're coming through, where they can grab what they want, and the flow is much better, and we're able to move more students through.
So a lot of it would be prep and then stocking?
A lot of it will be.
How do you propose that, and I'm looking at the numbers, if, say for each lunch you're serving 200 units that come through, how are you going to keep up if you take 2, like right now you're doing 200, but you have 2 cash registers? If all of a sudden now you change to a la carte and you have more units coming through, although it's quicker if it's grab and go, how are they still going to get past the cashier point to make it expeditious and yet not
smooth?
Without staffing to do that.
We were running as many as 300 meals a day. We've dropped significantly, and that's why I believe what we can do is we actually can move them through faster. I also want to move the register over so it's closer right to the line, so there's people able to keep them moving.
How many units per day are you doing right now?
Right now, we're on our meals. We're doing 100 or less.
So you were doing 300, now that you're down to 100. And I'm just throwing this out there because I haven't prepped anybody. And I was looking at the numbers. We increase, and it goes to economics, and I don't know if I'm on the right train here. but we increased the price, our meal usage went down, and we don't provide a lot of a la carte. But if we provide more a la carte and increase the price, is our meal count going to go down? Or is it going to continue to go down? Or would it be better maybe to decrease, I mean, I'm throwing this out there wildly, sorry, decrease the price to increase meal sales, but not use my plate? Because when I'm looking, the reason by it, if you can throw up the, I think it's like the slide that shows meal sales versus ADP, and then the slide right after that, annual ADP by level. If you look at this, when you look at the first column, that's price increase for meals. We're at $127.52.44. The next year, you had the $1 increase in price. The elementary saw an increase. Well, that's probably typical. But the middle school saw a slight increase. The high school, the money starts hitting the pocket of a teenager. You saw a little decrease. However, so if you use that analogy, money may not be the factor, even though I still think it's a factor. But as soon as you hit the my plate, you went from at elementary 140 down to 120. You went from 53, not as much down to 50. I don't know what has to do. But at the high school, you dove off a cliff.
Yes.
That if it's not the money and it's my plate, you have to do something about my plate. But if you do something about my plate, are we creating a problem by we get rid of my plate, now all of a sudden 30,000
more meals
come back to us because now we're competing with the McCarrolls, Stewarts, and everybody else, and kids say, oh, well, I don't have to go down there, I can get it here now, and I don't have to worry about 2 McNuggets versus 4 McNuggets.
But you're proposing not serving meals.
But they're still going to eat there.
But we're still having a meal, but it's a quicker meal. It's what the kids are buying.
Yeah. Well, what I would recommend is, because these are just recommendations, it sounds like there are questions about staffing and how it would all work, and if you have enough people under this proposal to take care of potential scenarios. I would recommend that you come back and continue to take feedback to the board, and whatever proposal is the more final form is to really hear the concerns that have been expressed and to assure the board that you've thought through the questions and the pushing back and the just inquiries about the current proposal, and to make sure you can demonstrate that you can cover. Because you're there, I don't know if you can or cannot, but it sounds like some people have some concerns. So, and I also have some questions about numbers. I have questions about numbers too.
One other question I had, and you can get back to us on this, is it would be useful to know what percentage of high school students don't take a lunch period, because
they're in class.
I suspect that at the high school, the grab and go may be more in fitting with their lifestyle. But it would be useful to know what percentage of the students don't take lunch hours, and so they don't have the time to sit down to a full meal.
Plus, also, I mean, your number of meals at the high school is more than cut in half. Has the number of students in the cafeteria cut in half, or are they bringing it from home, or is it just kids aren't going to the cafeteria? Is there a sense?
Well, while they're not buying the meal, our pizza sales for our pizza shop area continue to grow and increase and do really well. So they're buying other things.
So you're only showing what are the
carte.
ADPs, not all of your a la carte services.
I have some questions on the numbers. Can we move to numbers? Or do we want to still talk about?
Well, again, I think if you could have information on, like, how many sales you made of, the a la carte on a day, maybe, so that we could get a sense of, if you're showing over the year, if you showed that your a la cartes were 20,000 units of sales there, then you're seeing a switch over to that. That would be good information to know.
Well, can we ask the kids that are here? Do you
Well,
guys eat the regular?
I still have questions that I've been sitting on. So.
I was definitely going to open it up to the kids, but let's finish our questions first. And I have a quick question. Have we ever done a survey to all our students to see what?
We've asked, and we've done a survey, was it last year, I think when the voting was going on. We haven't done a formal survey in a while. We did have one on, is it not FM? I don't know, they actually put it on the computer for the healthy moms. We were able to work with it and put it together. We didn't get a whole lot of people that returned on that one, but we can definitely put out another one.
Because, I
and do a
mean,
little bit
I would
better with
think
it.
that the price would be one of the huge, you know, I was against raising the price that high that one year, and I knew we would take a total drop.
Yeah.
But go ahead, Charlie.
I have a question on some of the monetary values here. On the two proposed solution slides, if you can go on the first one and then on the second. On that one where it says expand the high school a la carte, what's the 124.5 based on and the 27? Is that an estimate? I mean, where did the numbers come from?
They're all estimates. The assumption was that of the 100 students who are participating in the myplate.gov program now, those 100 students will still likely be looking for a meal. So we took the average prices on the proposed a la carte items and just multiplied that by those numbers. That also, we did the same for the coffee shop items, just taking an estimate based on what we think would be the more popular items times the pricing. So
I mean, there's no way to really know, but it could be higher, it could be lower. It's an estimate.
It's an estimate.
It's an estimate, yeah. You're trying to predict what the market is, what the demand is for various food items.
And on the next slide, where it says the 10-cent meal price increase up $22,000, is that assuming that the same number of people would buy next year as they do this year?
It's taking existing meal counts.
Okay. So some people may drop out just because of the whatever. Okay, so that again, I think that number could change. The last thing I want to mention is just an observation and a recommendation on the proposed price changes slide, which is 2 more slides forward. The price of milk, if you increase that by 10 cents, that's up that's a 20% increase. And I would recommend that it should stay at 50 cents. That you're talking about a cup of milk for 60 cents, and I think for kids who bring lunch, 50 cents is the appropriate price for, I know we're talking about a dime here, but I can see the meal prices increasing by 10 cents is a much lower proportion of the overall price, whereas if you increase the price of milk 20%, I think kids will stop drinking milk. Or more kids will stop drinking milk. So I would recommend that the price of milk stay the same. Lunch price we can debate, but I think the price of milk should stay at 50 cents.
I agree with you on the milk, definitely. You're the expert, not me, on this, but I don't understand how you go through a line faster if you pick something out yourself than when someone hands it to you. It just seems like you still got to get in line. I mean, just from having gone to cafeterias like in ski lodges every weekend, whether someone hands it to me or I do the a la carte, I still have to get in the same line to check out. So I guess that I'm not understanding how you can have fewer checkout people based on whether someone hands it to you or not.
There's only so many kids coming to each, I mean, there's lunch periods, so there's only so many kids that are out there available.
So you don't need them now? And if you increased it, you don't need it? If you doubled it, you wouldn't need them?
I believe in just watching the flow of what we're doing that we could handle it without any problems and move the people through.
Suppose people come in hungry at 7:30 in the morning and, the egg sandwiches just take off that you need, to make 300 egg sandwiches in 10 minutes or whatever. I mean, it could happen.
That would be great.
But you need people, but people still, I mean, kids have to get to home, so there isn't a lot of time.
And I agree. One of the things I'm concerned about is that we have to do a lot of estimating right now, no matter what, just because you don't know what the implications of any decision is going to be. Is there the ability within the current structure right now to try to address some of the structural deficit through the a la carte and through some of the items that are just extra items that we do, such as the coffee? I know one of the things I had mentioned is the coffee price here versus the coffee price at Dunkin' Donuts. I mean, we don't see a lot of Dunkin' Donuts coffee going around, but we sell, I believe, about $55,000 on the line in coffee. And I believe the coffee price is $1 a cup and 75 cents for a refill. But it's, I mean, I don't know if that's the whole truth, nothing but the truth, but I'm just looking, if you spent $55,000 a year on a cup of coffee, that's $1. per cup or $75 on the refill. And if you just move that to $1.50, you're still beating Dunkin' Donuts, Stewart's, and everything else, as well as the refill price, that you cover it, and then you start putting in some of the plans that you have, and then we address staffing as it goes so that we don't sell ourselves short with anything that we do. That's a concern.
What's the timeline on when do things have to be finalized at this point? Because it sounds like there are several questions floating. I'm assuming you have to address those questions and perhaps do more. What's the time frame?
Our biggest issue, I imagine, is food prices for lunch, basically on our program prices and the federal lunch program, because that will affect summer publications and information that we have to start pretty much about the first or second week of July. So any proposed pricing change should be done in June, ready for, I believe, the organizational meeting. So we have one more meeting before we really need to effectively take action on that part, as well as the federal free and reduced lunch. We are not under pressure on the restructuring. However, the restructuring must account for that we will not have a structural deficit at the end of next year, and that we are repairing some of the loss from this year. Even if we cut it in half, we're moving in a better direction. But my expectation, I know that I've explained to Judy as well as she's explained to Paul, is that we must balance this budget this year and not expect to be in this position next year. And that's why I've ordered the monthly reports, tighter controls on inventory and everything else.
Just one question, because you still have that up there. If we do the, I'm talking about the federal, if we get rid of the My Plate, do we get any reimbursement?
Not at the high school level. You'd get it
Oh, that
at
was
the
for the
middle
middle, okay.
school and
Right.
for the elementary school.
Because we would still have the My
meals.
Plate at
Yes.
those two levels. Okay.
Yeah.
Our big thing that we have to caution, if we remove the federal, it does free up the food service department to be more creative at the high school. But we also have to cover the loss of about $47,000 in revenue that would normally come in. So it's sort of a double-edged sword. If you reduce it, you give opportunity, but you have to know what you're going to get
You already
when
have
you
a
take
hole.
that chance.
You have 47,
Right.
a hole.
Right.
Yeah, okay. I have just a couple of thoughts. One is, not to throw a nightmare into your life, but it would be interesting if you were to offer the opportunity for board members to come into the cafeteria while lunch is being served with you, so we could see. I mean, because sometimes we're saying, well, what's the flow look like and how would it look? Something for you to consider, and if that's possible, to have a couple of times where we might be able to, I know people are oftentimes otherwise engaged during the day, but for those folks who want to see it, that might be an opportunity for us to better understand what your vision is. The other thing is I would ask.
Only if you buy a lunch, Charmaine.
Huh?
Only if you buy a lunch.
I buy coffee here sometimes.
See, $2.
Well, adult meal prices are higher.
And I buy cookies for my son's lunch table. The other thing I would ask the district to consider is a committee for next year to work with Mr. Franchini and his staff. Maybe there's a board member or so who wants to volunteer, to just think long-term, to track these changes, but to start thinking about additional directions and what are the issues and what are the trends to report back to the board on a regular basis. I just think it would be interesting to have such a group looking and thinking. And
we have to be very careful with the committee structure at this point, because this board is about to cease come July 1st, and although right now all of you are expected to be back on July 2nd, you really have to have that conversation once the board reorganizes.
Okay, let's just maybe.
But I
remember
think that's one of the things that they are already starting to look at,
Sure.
whether it's inventory. And that's one of the reasons the board never regularly got monthly reports in their financials, and that's one of the things I'm putting into place, because I want to know how many meals were being served compared from one year to the next. So you get some data points, as well as we cost out all of our costs per month instead of thinking we're going one direction and then all of a sudden having bills turn us in another direction. It's a history of past practices that have been there, and we're addressing it. I thank for the leadership of Judy taking care of that, as well as Paul and his staff for being open and trying to look for ways to improve it.
Do any other board members have questions? Okay, I'm going to open it up for students. just kind of get your take on what's going on in the cafeteria. Just if you could just state your name for the camera.
You need to go to the microphone. Go to the microphone.
Where's the camera?
It's right behind you.
Jesse. I've been eating school lunch since first grade. I'm graduating senior, and honestly, I love when prices for like $1.75 for lunches. You know, I could walk in. You know, Nancy was always happily serving me and stuff, and those were great times and stuff. And obviously, with economic situations and stuff, what I think the big issue was getting rid of the other lunch line that we had at the high school here. That's why we're seeing it drop off by more than half. The sales, getting the a la carte side. Like, the a la carte's a great thing. It does allow students just like walk in and pick up. Like, I have all my classes. I don't have a free period until 7th period on most days, but that's because I just leave and go to work. I'd like to see next year no lunches, personally, and just have it all a la carte, because the profits generated on the other side of the a la carte menu were definitely a lot higher than the My Plate stuff, because, you know, My Plate's $3.25, you get all this food, but then a la carte, you know, it's like $1.75 for fries, oh, it's another 50 cents for milk, oh, you want like Subway and stuff, it's 10 cents. But, you know, I think that the a la carte is definitely a better idea. I mean, yes, it might take the same amount of time because of checkouts and stuff during high lunch periods, like right at the beginning when the bell rings. But overall, I'd like to see, you know, I think it'd bring prices back up. And
Do you
stuff.
see a lot of students eating classes?
No, not really. There are quite a bit of students that don't have lunch periods. Now, like we had, I think like 4 or 5 people graduate early this year. So, I mean, like I didn't have lunch last year. I still got lunch though.
But did you buy stuff in the cafeteria and eat it in class, or did you bring it?
I get an iced coffee every single morning.
See, there's $2 again.
I think that we should do iced coffees to $2.
And service with a smile every morning.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. But, you know, lunch is $3.50 if you want to keep them. Iced coffee's $2. Thanks.
Thank you, Jesse.
$2 work.
Hi, my name's Juliana Flavin. I'm a senior at Bethlehem High School. I haven't had a lunch period in 4 years, every year of high school. I've noticed that when we started doing the New York State, or the government plate, the quality of the food and the size of the food has gone down greatly. I know that I would stop in when I did have a free period if I had one. I'd want to stop in and get something quick to eat, and I'd either have to wait till the lunch line opened and I'd have to wait in line, or I'd have to go quickly grab a snack. I know that I would go for the snacks because they're quicker, they're cheaper, and they're more efficient. I know that during my classes, when I didn't have a free period, I would be eating my lunch during class. I honestly think the a la carte idea is a better idea because it's faster, and I personally, like, obviously I don't know the full detail, but I think it's better revenue. The lunches, the quality's gone down. Not because of your doing or at all, but
more the regulations.
But more of the regulations, exactly. I just think that the government regulation has kind of just hindered the food quality and just like the overall food service overall, and I think that it needs to be like reviewed more. I like the idea of taking away the government thing, but I don't know. I think the a la carte thing should be expanded, and I know that the iced coffees, like Jesse said, they're huge. Everyone I see always has one, always buying one. But I do like your idea of like eliminating down the normal lunch plates, lowering down that amount produced, but I guess a la carte would be the better idea. Not saying get rid of the whole lunch idea, because obviously kids have lunch periods, but a la carte is, I definitely think, a better idea because the food's better, and I know I'd want to buy that more than anything else. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, hello, my name's Leo Cato, and I'm a senior at Bethlehem here. In
in the fall, I'm going to double major in finance and statistics, so I obviously really appreciate the quantitative displays up there. However, I feel that it's very important that the people making these decisions on the food budget actually go into the cafeteria, look around, get a feel for how many people are in the cafeteria at certain times during the day, look at the inventory, and really get a hands-on feel as opposed to just statistics, because sometimes, as we know, statistics can be very misleading. So that's all.
Thank you, Leo. Okay, anyone else? I know some people were like jumping out of their seats. Is that it? Okay. Thank you, Judy. Thank you, Paul. Who's up? Tom, you are, right? Yep. The vacancy.
At our last Board of Education meeting, one of our board members, Ms. Bierman, tendered a resignation after the election.
I don't have that.
Budget. One of the concerns was addressed by the board as how to handle that. And over this time, I've had the chance to talk with legal counsel as well as New York State School Boards, as well as the district superintendent, who would be a person that would provide guidance on that. And one of the questions is what are the options available to the Board of Education, or how may the Board of Education address a vacancy? Specifically, I needed to report back to the Board of Education on the fact that school law states that the districts, and every district, whether you're union-free, chartered member school district, a common school district, a city school district, even the city of Kenmore, Kenwood, Tonawanda, everybody has some certain set requirements. In this situation, because we are a central school district, the central districts have the power and duty to fill a vacancy. So you have the power to fill this vacancy, but you also have the duty to fill the vacancy on the part of the Board of Education when one arises. What happens is the Board of Education has to look at the specific seat in question and decide on that seat. With this happening after the election, that poses unique situations. However, it is about the seat, not the election at this point, because it comes after the election. With that, one of the questions, board vacancies may be filled in one of 4 ways. So you have at your disposal, and it is the discretion of the board to fill it, 1, by calling a special election. All boards have that ability. You would do it within 90 days of the vacancy, which we are within that time frame, so that you can have that discussion, and that's governed by state statute. In addition, the board may appoint a qualified person by a vote of the majority of the whole board. The reason why the majority of the whole board is set apart is because in this situation it really does not matter, because the majority would be 4 individuals when there's only 6 members. In order to fill this, you are required by law to have 4. If this board decided to fill it a certain way and had a 3-3 vote, that would not meet the requirements of the statute of the majority of the whole board. The third case is a rare situation, and that is when you have 3-3 boards or 4-4 boards when it comes down to that, or you do not have the majority of the board in situations where you're below that 50-50 percentile. So in those rare cases, then what happens is the board would ask me to contact the district superintendent. Now sometimes people get that confused. The district superintendent, I am a superintendent of schools, even though I'm the superintendent for this district. A district level superintendent is a superintendent in charge of one of the 33 BOCES regions. For us, it would be Dr. Charles Diedrich at Cap Region BOCES. But it's only in a very rare situation where the position needs to be filled because the board is very uniquely positioned that it can't come to conclusions on many decisions. So they don't really step in that much unless really called upon. And in the last case, it is the rarest of cases, and that's when the board can't make a decision and the district superintendent might not be able to make a decision, that you would probably approach the Commissioner of Education, who happens to live in our district, but that Commissioner of Education could call for a special election, and that's how the position would be filled. In this situation, these are the 4 options that I've been advised that you have at your disposal for debate and discussion. Potential processes. If the board has its discussion, how would it work? Well, I can only look at the 2 that were up there because the process on the latter 2 are really up to someone else. For the board, if the Board of Education decides to hold a special election, you must adhere to all legal requirements associated with a general election for the purpose of electing a board member to this specific seat. If the board opts to appoint an individual, and this is just what it doesn't, it's not defined to this, but these are some things that have been done, and I know the board has had this experience in the past. Candidates might, if the board opens it up for a time period, submit a letter of interest. They may also submit a resume of qualifications. And they could, depending on the board, complete a questionnaire regarding their goals and intentions for serving on the BC Board of Education. And then also the Board of Education can conduct interviews. And that is at your discretion to make the best appropriate decision moving forward. In this decision, no matter what, any person filling this board seat would only fill until the next general election. If the seat, which was occupied by Ms. Berriman, was not up come the end of the next school year, they would not continue past that election unless they are elected to that position. Fortunately, in this situation, as Ms. Berriman stated, she only had 1 year remaining on her term, and therefore whoever fills this position would automatically be up for election at the next general election point. So I think that makes that issue null and void. So those are your potential processes, the rules and regulations around it that the board asked because it came to you off guard at the last meeting. That's what we've done, and basically you're trying to work on about a 90-day timeline at this point. At this point, that's what I have. It's all up to you at this point.
Does anybody have any questions for?
Do we have to appoint an individual? Do we have to go through a process of accepting applications or anything, or can we just do it?
That is up to the majority of the board to decide.
I mean, my feeling is appointing Christine Beck because of the fact that it was the day after the election. I mean, I don't usually believe in a board appointing someone, but it was the day after an election where she put herself out there. She definitely expressed her interest. She received a substantial number of votes, and there was no one else that showed interest in the position. So to now ask people after she's gone through that, to now say, well, hey, if you want it, you can avoid the whole vote thing for a year and come in and not have to put yourself out there, doesn't seem right to me. That's my opinion on what to do.
The only thing I would say to that, Kate, would be that there may have been people who would have run had not Mike or Diane run because they were happy with the direction the board was in or whatnot, and therefore they knew Mike and Diane were not running, so they chose not to run. They might run at another time when other,
They still have the option to run in a year.
No, I agree, but
I understand.
They could have the opportunity to also, if we were to open it up, to apply it.
I think what Matt's saying is sometimes more candidates come forward if there's an open seat on the board.
I think it takes more courage to do it when there isn't, and she did.
No, I agree with that.
That's my feeling.
Judy, what would the cost be if we did a special election?
Special election cost would be under $10,000. Yeah.
We can't hear back here.
The question was, what is the cost of a special election? It would be about $10,000.
Yeah, which, for me, the special election is not an option. We've had 2 elections this year. We did bonds, we did votes. I don't think we'll get a whole lot of turnout, and the turnout we get will be supporting one candidate who may or may not be qualified or the best choice for the district at this point. I don't think we should throw another election in the next couple of months. Who knows, the summer, people won't come, people will be confused. So I would rather the board, I would propose that the board, this is my opinion, go along the appointment route, and then we can discuss, you know, if the majority agree with that, then we can discuss how, who, what, and all the rest. But I think an election at this point would be just not appropriate.
Well, probably the only one who's actually experienced this a couple of times while serving on this board, and we've never held a special election, probably due mainly to the cost of it, but I think it is confusing to the community, you know, to have so many elections. But what we did do, and I think, you know, and this was general, in one case, the board member died, and then in the other case, the board member had resigned, and we solicited letters of intent and interviewed candidates. I do feel that's important to do. And there are a lot of people that maybe wouldn't have come out before, but maybe would. We'd always have 10 or 12 people that were really interested in serving. In fact, one of the people on the first group didn't get selected, and he actually came back several, you know, some years later for the second one. And actually, we did select him at that point. But it, you know, it was a very fair process where people, you know, went through, like we interview for architects or whatever else, you know, a set of questions, and you know, it's a very fair process. And we were, the board, and I assume the district was happy with the results in each of those cases. So I would, that would be my personal recommendation, that we go that route, and, you know, ask for people who are interested to apply for the position.
I agree that I don't think doing the special election is necessarily the best thing to do from an economic standpoint, and also because we've had 2 votes already this year. And I would agree that I think we should open it up and see who's out there and do interviews with them, and then come to decisions so we can find the best person for the seat.
I'm not opposed to interviewing, but I agree with Kate that we did have a candidate come forward. She went through all the hoops. We know a lot about her because she spoke for 1 hour with I think the 2 of you. So I don't think I would be personally very comfortable seeing her. I would encourage her to be, if we go for the application, must to apply, but I'm also equally comfortable just saying that's a person who came forward, took a lot of guts, did everything she was supposed to, and was received support from the community. But if the majority of the board decides that we should open it up for interviews, I'll go that route too. I would only encourage, and if we do that route, I would encourage people who apply to really have a sense of what the board's about.
Matt just had to step out for a minute, so I think he.
What do you think? Did you say you would?
I usually wait till last. I guess I see it as 2 things. I see it that if the election, if Laura had resigned like in a month, we would be opening up the applications process. I kind of agree with Matt about people may run if they're not going on a, you know, they're happy with the board, and so they're just going to wait until there is an open seat, you know, because they're happy and that's what they're going to do. The other thing is there may be people out there that may want to do it for a 1-year commitment because it is only a 1-year, you know, finishing up a term, that there might be people who have wanted to do it but really didn't want to give a 3-year commitment to see if, well, you know, like, you know, I don't want to commit myself for 3 years. Let me try it for a year, and if I like it, then I'll run again. You know, it's not as long as a commitment. So that's, you know, I guess I'm looking at that also. So.
Do you want to just take a vote to see if the election thing is officially off, the special election?
Oh, yeah.
If you could eliminate one right off the bat.
I think we're all kind of, I just wanted to make sure, did people get some emails today? Actually, I think there was only one that they thought we should hold a special election. Or
I didn't see it.
Okay, there was just an email from a person who had wanted us to hold a special election. I think she might have also said, or appoint Christine. I just want to make sure because it came in later.
She did say that in both. I think the way that the message was is that they prefer a special election so the democratic process can take place, and that if not,
Right.
then she's fine with the point.
Right. I just wanted to make sure, because it came in late, and I know people don't really get to their emails, you know, all the time. So, but I would agree, holding another election and spending $10,000 just would not, you know, and if we do the applications, maybe we could even have like some of our high school seniors or juniors or people from Student Senate even be part of those interview process. I don't know if that's,
Well,
you
no,
can't
it was
do that.
always, it was always
Just the board?
It's the board.
Okay.
It's the board.
Okay, so does anybody want a special election at this point? All right, so that's off the table.
So then, if you don't want a special election, then the remaining option at this point is to appoint and then consider what process you wish to use.
I personally think we should do what's been done in the past. That's my own personal opinion, which Lynn had stated.
Yeah, and I was just saying this, certainly, I see Christine sitting there, and this isn't, you know, to slight her, but we have to look at this as if, you know, it didn't happen just after, you know, that it's a different seat, and we have to look at it separately. And that's why I was looking at the interview process, and it could, you know, I mean, it could end up at the same conclusion, but I think we need to open up that process. And offer
you know, having
people
heard you, I'm
opportunity.
big on consistency and process, so I can agree to that. I understand.
And it wouldn't be long, you know, because I know, especially this time of year, and if we're looking, and with vacations coming up, that, you know, that we wouldn't have long interviews, like they wouldn't be for, you know.
Superintendent.
Right, hours or whatever, you know,
And
maybe,
it may
you know, a
just be
half hour or
Christine,
so.
4
coming
months.
in.
I think there's a reason that it is a voted position and that it's not an appointed position. And so I think you only take the candidates that ran. I don't think someone gets to sneak in through the back door way to do it. I don't think they get to try it out. I don't think they do any of that. You don't know how this thing works in a year.
Well,
I
we've
mean,
had some
honestly.
great people serve on this board that we appointed.
I think that can happen, but I don't think the purpose of the election is to let the community decide. And she was within 70 votes of being on this board anyway. And that seems crazy to me that anybody else, no matter what they applied, would come out ahead of her.
Yeah. I have a question for Tom, who's talking to someone right now for a second. So I have a question. When you talked about the process, and I think maybe Kate asked, and someone asked, that's not the prescribed process. That's one process.
That's sort of what has similarly been done in my historical search of the district or general other districts as well.
Okay, so then I rescind what I just said, because I think I'm a stickler for consistency in process when there is a prescribed and singular process in place. If there is flexibility, then I'm back with Kate. I think someone ran and did what you were supposed to. So.
Matt?
Well, I think I stated before that, you know, I think we should open it up to anyone who may be interested. Again, I think we shouldn't muddy it with the elections because it wasn't part of the election. I mean, the election happened. It's unfortunate that it was the next day that this happened, but it is a separate and distinct seat that has a separate term that no matter who's appointed, like Tom said, has to run again next year for a full 3-year term.
Mike?
I agree with Matt. I think it's a very unique circumstance and that we should see who's interested and determine who the best candidate is.
Okay. And Lynn, I think it's probably 4-2. We could take a vote, but I don't think do we have to officially
You
do
just
something?
have to provide me direction and tell me what process to put into place.
I guess the process would be is go through the application process and talk with Lynn and kind of do what we've done in the past.
Well, certainly notice has to go out so that everyone is aware of it. So obviously, in the past, we wouldn't have had the website to use, so that's one avenue, but certainly advertising in the spotlight, and probably even
SMS and stuff.
Right.
Right, but we do need to let the community know.
Yeah, minimum just on notification, you're at least a week, maybe a week and a half out before any formal notification goes out by our official newspapers. However, we can also try to update that. If you're looking at a timeline suggestion, if you get the notification out within a week and a half, 2 weeks for everybody to get their paperwork in, which is basically by the end of the month, then you would have the information at your disposal at the organizational meeting. My advice to the board, you can certainly do this, has nothing to do with the superintendency or the administration. My advice is to make sure that you're just open and transparent throughout the process. Maybe not with the interviews, because that allows people to be honest and discreet with the board, whoever may choose to submit, but also that you at least let the public know who has submitted on the organizational meeting, and that you'd follow those up and schedule your interviews with anybody that applies, probably shortly after that, to make your decision at the very next board meeting after the interviews. That would be my recommendation if you were looking at a timeline.
Cass, what's, I don't have a calendar, it's probably somewhere. What's the next meeting after the organizational meeting? How many?
It's the tax rate meeting, I believe.
It's in August?
Yeah.
So we would have to be available, or a majority of
make
the
a
board
special.
would be available for the interviews between July.
I would suggest that the whole board must be available for that interview. So you'll basically have between, I think, July 2nd and probably August 13th to be able to get everything done with one round of interview, and then have a recommendation from the floor at that meeting for appointment. And if, I mean, obviously you talked to the person before, whoever you would end up selecting would be installed that evening and fill out the remainder of that term from that point forward.
So what could our time frame be? Like, have people who are interested respond before which date?
Well, if you want to definitely have everything in your hands by the organizational meeting.
Okay.
And the only reason I don't suggest you use the 19th is the turnaround time to really notify the public. We need a week and a half to get it out, at least in the spotlight,
Okay.
as well as the SNN, the website will try the Times Union. That way, it gives the propriety that you have opened this up to the entire residential population, and that they've had due notice.
Okay.
It might be that you may only have one applicant.
Right.
Then it takes,
probably what
it
will
becomes
happen.
very easy.
Right.
I can't tell you that. I can just suggest how to do it as transparent as possible and open as possible for everybody.
Okay, so we have them in by July 1st? That would be, are people okay with that?
What we'll do,
Well, so-
we wouldn't have it by the 2nd, I mean,
When would it appear, who's got a calendar? When would it appear in the paper? Okay, there you go. Today's the 5th. So you were saying advertisements could go out.
As soon as possible.
They can go tomorrow,
And
right?
actually, some of the
Well, no, you gotta
advertising's already
place it-
going
well,
out
the
with this
SNN, but you have
meeting.
to place it in the paper. So, but people, it looks like people would at least have 2 weeks, even if it went out in the paper.
Yeah,
This is
if it
July
gets
1st.
to the
July
paper,
1st
they'll have
sounds
the 2 full weeks, and plus, they'll have actually this week and a half to even consider as well. So I think you've given due notice at that point to anybody that would even consider doing a thankless job.
We've had 10 or 12 people each of those times, and, I mean, we were always very surprised with how many people were interested. Just want to
Those were in the
clarify,
good,
when
those were in the
the,
good days when you weren't cutting everything.
well, that's true.
28.
When people would be applying, okay, and we, you know, we have the names or we have the letters and are trying to, you know, schedule the interviews. I thought you said we would release the names before we do that. I mean, I don't think we should do that. We can do that when we select a person and then say that all of these, you know, great people applied, but this is the person that we're appointing.
I would have to just caution the board that if, say 12 people applied, I think the board would be in a much better position with the community, that the community also knows. It's not that anybody would come out and lobby because there's no meeting, but that on the night of the 2nd, we should be able to tell the community we have 6 applicants these are the names of the applicants, no different than you would do for a general election and so forth. People have to disclose that. Now, that does not necessarily mean that once you say we have 6 applicants, that exposes to them to any undue pressure or harm, but it also means that you'll interview those people that have come forward, and then at the end of that, you'll make the selection from you at a board meeting, not, oh, we've made it and we'll keep the name, because that's why I would suggest, and I think the processes have been across the state, there's only one round of interviews, because if you go to more than that, it gets out there.
Yeah. But in deference to the candidates, we never release the names beforehand.
But I don't know the history, so I would leave that at the board's discretion. If you want to or not, that's fine. I'm just giving you my humble advice because of the transparency issue has been very near and dear to me, as well as I think this entire board throughout the processes.
I would put their names, let people know, because if there's that many people interested and they want to run next year or the year after, at least their name's out there, that they were interested. So.
Okay.
The big thing is I can do whatever the board requires me to do. I'm just your facilitator in this. I cannot weigh in. I cannot be part of the discussion as a part of the interviews. I only acted more as the district clerk pro tem to make sure that it adheres to the regulations of interviewing, and it's sort of like interviewing for a job, even though there's no pay.
Okay.
Keep saying that. I'm sorry. I wish I could pay everybody.
So are we good with that date? Have applications in by January 1st?
So that
Then
the
we'll
board will
or
have
July
them.
1st.
If I can, I'll try to make it the Friday before our meeting so that we have time to prep it and get it to the board.
That would be the 28th then.
Then June 28th then.
Okay.
Okay.
The other thing I'd recommend too with submitting a letter of interest and a resume of qualifications, that not to complete a questionnaire, but because we'll be asking questions, so I can't see doing that, but people can include what their goals and intentions, in a sense, that's part of the intent of why they would do it.
Well, if I can use, I mean, we've tried to do some research on this. If I can try to put that in my update to make sure everybody's okay with anything so that you have some knowledge of the person beforehand, I can do that, and you guys can wordsmith it or anything, and I'll make that sort of your package of anybody that's applying. Everybody would get the same thing and submit the same thing.
Okay. Okay, we're done with that?
Okay, so
Is there
I
anything
will
else you
start
need?
advertising the board vacancy from the board. I will set application deadline of June 28th. We'll provide that copy to the board. We'll have a letter of interest, letter of qualifications, and some sample, depending on what the board ultimately decides, just in regards to maybe your goals or intention for serving for the next year.
Great. And then also all board members can start emailing, like Cindy.
I will have Cindy coordinate the
vacation schedules or whatever.
vacation schedules to try to select the date, and then
So we have that
the
out.
sooner the better on that, because no matter what, who applies on the 28th, I'm going to tell them, you must be available on this
Right.
date.
Okay.
And the more I can give that to any prospective candidate or be able to post that, I think that would be beneficial for everybody.
Are you proposing a single night for all the interviews?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I would
I will
schedule a
ask
couple
for
nights
2
just
or
in
3
case.
nights.
I think
Yeah,
it's probably
yeah.
going to be one.
Yeah, I would suggest a few, just because. if
Yeah,
you
just in
get
case.
Just in case.
It's
Right.
better prepare for an onslaught than
Yep.
one.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
easy.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Boy, I'm going to whip through this agenda, hopefully. Any visitors on an agenda item? And now I'm going to have to use this because my agenda's not the same.
I'm glad you can see it.
So I just did that, so what's the next one? Because we did finance. It is recommended, it is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following finance action items A through D. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It's for a second. Any discussion?
Are some of the booster donations to support coaching positions? There is something online now about coaching.
Softball.
Softball.
We talked about
I've
it.
said this every year, and I have not gotten the answer I'm looking for in terms of clarity. Although I support athletics, I have not gotten a clear legal opinion on whether or not booster donations or outside donations can support coaching positions. So could I ask for that, please?
I honestly, Charmaine, I know that you've asked that. I think we've tried to say we don't know whether there's a clear legal opinion. We'll continue that. This is in regards to cleaning up a situation with our volunteer, which I think has been our issue. In the coming year, we're going to ask volunteers to understand as they sign their job appointment sheets that there is no expectation for volunteering service, and I'm hoping that will clean this issue up. This is sort of a stopgap remedy as well to issues that have been ongoing in the district. But my best professional opinion is I don't believe there's any legal opinion out there that says you can't do it. I just don't think it's the best practice to be doing that because it's something that we provide.
Okay. Well, especially if we're hiring someone as, quote, a volunteer coach.
Right. Well, this one I can go with, but I would like our attorneys asked,
Yep.
point blank, as we move to the future, can we accept outside donation to hire or provide stipends?
I'll ask Judy to contact Norma and then
thank
tomorrow.
you. Thank you. I just want to make sure that
if we
whatever
can,
we
we'll
do
try to put it in our
it
updates.
is allowed by state law.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That carries. And
we've already
we
done
did
9.
Okay, which is 6 on mine.
So we're on
support
to-
personnel. It's recommended that the Board of Education approve the following support staff action items A through D.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries. Correspondence for action. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following correspondence action items A through C.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. That
Aye.
carries. Okay, and visitors on a non-agenda item? Okay, future meetings, June 19th, July 2nd, August 13th.
There is a June 10th audit committee meeting, just so the public's
Okay.
aware.
Yes.
Okay.
I actually have a question that's not, on the, I think it's the energy performance contracts, the interviews we're having, I think it's next week, who's on?
Yeah,
that
we
list?
start those.
I think we start the interviews at 6. Can I just clarify, are we meeting?
Hold on one second. Participation in government, just come up and sign sheets.
Yeah, if you can hold on for just 1 minute,
Give us
guys,
30
okay,
seconds.
please.
Are we starting that meeting before 6 o'clock? Because the first interview was at 6.
Usually we would start about 15 minutes just before to go
Okay.
over questions.
Okay, good, thank you.
Wednesday's always 14. It's not the 3rd. Wednesday, August 14th.
Oh, okay. So we change that, okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Nay, just all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Gotta sign out.